Thanks for tuning into the podcast. We got a lot of stuff coming up this summer, and we're excited to get right into it. So today, our main topic is going to be rule proposals. This is an interesting topic every year because it kind of sneaks up on us. School's winding down, finals hit, and then boom, rule proposals are due like a couple weeks in, and it always kind of catches us off guard. There's always one or two things that we're thinking about during the season, during the school year, whatever, and so we kind of scramble to get something together. That is kind of Ian's forte. The rule that's getting proposed this year, which I think is a very important, good rule, and we'll touch on that in a second. But a couple of announcements pertaining kind of what we were talking about in terms of things sneaking up on us here. You might want to make sure that you give a little bit of a heads up to your team reps or your president or whoever runs your club. They probably already know, but can't hurt to remind them that the divisional applications are due on June 1st. That's basically going to be the application that says, all right, this is the division we'd like to play in, and then from there the league is going to make their decision in terms of where you'll belong. But June 1st, divisional applications are due, so make sure you send a friendly text reminder to whoever's running your club and make sure that they get on that. Potential rule changes, rule submissions or proposals, those are due by 5 p.m. Eastern this Friday, May 20th. So if you need help getting a little something together, if you have a rule idea, shoot us a tweet, an email, or whatever, and we'll help you out. We'll also have a Coast to Coast summer team for NCRHA Coast to Coast, the tournament team. There will be a survey link up on our website. By the time you're listening to this, you'll be able to get on and take the survey. So if you're in grad school or you're working on your PhD, should you get extra eligibility? And so that poll will be up, and feel free to shoot us a tweet with a little bit more support for your argument instead of just a yes or no. If you feel like there should be extra eligibility, let us know why. That's going to be something Ian's going to talk about in the show. And if not, give us a reason. We definitely want to hear it. So let's hear it, E. What is your main rule proposal? What are you submitting to the league, and what are you hoping to accomplish?
So I'm actually going to end up submitting two. One is on behalf of a student that I had talked to at Cortland this past year, a really good friend of mine, Chris Fedota, that had to do with eligibility being wasted in the D4 year because it's a modified league in a way where most players don't play more than 7 games unless they play in the ECRHA, that it shouldn't count against the eligibility because technically they're not playing at a national level. They're playing almost modified travel within their region. They kind of pay as they go, but they lose a year of eligibility, which might be harmful to those D4 teams that eventually move up to D2 in sequential years because those guys burn out their 5 years playing 2 in D2, and then when the teams are 2 in D4, and then when those teams finally start to turn to be the better, they've already used all 5 years or something like that. So that's what I'll be submitting on behalf of someone else, and that's something that I kind of wanted to throw out there initially, because if you have rule proposal ideas, but you don't know how to submit one or you don't know what to do, the guys here at Coast to Coast are more than willing to listen to and be an advocate for you, because that's a big part of what I'm interested in and what I do on a daily basis as a individual who works in higher education as well.
Yeah, and I just wanted to talk. I just wanted to chime in there. We're not just trying to sound like we're that important and we'll be able to get the rule passed for you, but it is, I think, worth noting that kind of everybody in terms of the coast to coast nation, if you want to say, came together and got that overtime rule passed a couple of years ago. If you're newer to the league or you've only been around for 2 seasons now, a couple of years ago there was no overtime. So
no overtime, no shootout.
Yeah, we had in a couple of years ago at Nationals, the last time it was in Florida, no overtime, no shootout. We had a bunch of tie games in the round robin or in the pool play, and that's how the regular season went as well. And everybody kind of came together and we got some stuff going on Twitter and got the conversation going and said, hey, like, what do you guys think about overtime? We put our proposal together, kind of explain why it would work in terms of, rink time and stuff like that, because there's obviously a lot of factors that go into making decisions like that. And we proved to the league, it'll be worth it. If it ends up being a little bit more money financially, it's going to be worth it to have closer games and have that extra excitement. And I'm pretty sure everybody's been pretty happy with that, and I think it's gone over really well. So,
yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, we definitely can help out, and like he said, if you have an idea, shoot it over to us. And we do have some tweets and some stuff that people have mentioned to us. We're gonna get to those a little bit later in the show, but so you talked about the D4 eligibility, or if you're playing in D4, not having those games count or not having those seasons spent playing on a team that isn't nationals eligible, that doesn't really have a postseason in a lot of regions. You're paying by tournament, et cetera, not having that count towards your eligibility. So that's one. What's your other one?
So my other one has to do with actually something that I've been tracking ethnographically for the last year or two, because I work in higher education. So working in higher education, I work with a lot of people who are campus life and leadership and student life-based people that track retention rates and everything like that, and graduation rates. I work with financial aid people, people who work in multicultural affairs, because that's what my job is. I'm basically the assistant director of multicultural affairs at a college. People who work in admissions and things like that. And so the biggest thing that is happening over the last, I would say, 10 to 15 years is a big shift in how college is completed. And a big shift in how college is completed is going from traditionally finishing college in 4 years to finishing college in 5+ years. So the typical average flagship institution, like an ASU or Michigan State or Colorado or a large state-funded high residency school like that, people finish college in about 5 years and 4 months. They don't finish in 4 years anymore because of changing majors or transferring schools or so on and so forth. And then at smaller schools, the time is even longer. So schools that aren't as high residency, like Newman University or Bethel or places like Lindenwood, University of Washington, St. Louis, places like that, finish in even longer time. So 5 years and I think about 6 or 8 months is about the time that it takes for that. So think about this, right? You play at an institution for all 5 years, freshman year through your senior year. You transfer your major once. Kevin, did you transfer majors while you were in college?
I did, yeah.
Did you transfer schools?
I did transfer schools, yeah.
How long will it take you to complete your undergraduate degree?
Well, I mean, cumulatively, it'll end up being, I took a semester off in there, essentially about a full year off. But in terms of number of semesters that I'll have been enrolled in classes and taking classes, I want to say 10 semesters, about maybe 11, 5.5.
So that's about 5.5 years, yeah?
Yeah, I think, like you said, I mean, this is important to bring up because it's not just something related to the league, and it's not just a couple of guys saying, hey, we want to keep playing. We're trying to live the dream a little bit longer. Like, this is something that's been published for a long time. 59% of first-time full-time students will finish that degree in 6 years. So, I mean,
right.
Yeah, it's taken a long time for people to finish, and there's a million reasons why, and that's a whole nother conversation. But no, this is really, I think this is more than just a good idea, a cool league rule proposal, but this is something that it really is relative to the idea of having a collegiate sport, a collegiate, intercollegiate activity where we've got people, there's no doubt that roller hockey affects some school decisions. And so that's going to be, something that you're going to have to kind of go to battle with is this something where kids are stretching out their education just to play? And does that even matter? I mean, that's kind of, again, maybe a whole nother conversation, but I think that this is relative, and I think that you have a pretty good case. And I think everybody out there listening, whether it applies to themselves or not, knows plenty of people that, like you said, have changed majors, have transferred schools, maybe started at a community college. But beyond that, it's really difficult to get some of the classes that you need when you need them. I mean, I know here at ASU, there are certain classes that are offered one time a year. There's one section, and we have 75,000 undergrads at this school. I mean,
that's huge.
It's impossible to finish in 4. It really is, unless you bust summer classes out and you meet with your advisor, every semester, couple times a semester, and you're really focused on making sure that you get in those classes exactly when you need them. I mean, in reality, when you're involved with other activities and stuff, chances are it's probably going to take you more than 4 years. If you're playing a club sport, I would love to see the 4-year graduation rate in the NCRHA. And if you did it, or you're working on it and you're on track, congratulations. That's great.
But it's not something that's typical anymore.
No.
Think about it this way. Northeastern University, if you go to Northeastern University and you take 2 co-ops like you were supposed to starting in 2006 when I joined, when I went to undergrad, you had to go to school for 5 years. If Northeastern had a team for all 5 years, Robert Laro, Brian Brown, Dan Belknap, all those kinds of guys, no matter if they went to go pursue a PhD in whatever they wanted to pursue it in, could not play another year. They couldn't do it because their undergrad was a mandatory 5 years at the time. So, and then you were also talking about would people be stretching out their education in order to continue to play in the NCRHA? So this is interesting because we have set a precedent in the NCRHA that even if you went outside of the states, decided to play pro somewhere, you are still welcome in this league, which is different than in any other league. You can't do that in the ACHA. You can't do that in the NCAA. So we've already established a kind of socialization, justice-y kind of policy.
Well, let's make sure this, the playing in Europe thing, that was, a debate we had. We'll try to dig up an old Coast to Coast episode for people that are kind of wondering about all that. But basically, you can play pro in Europe provided you're not paid, and you can come back and sit out a full year while attending the school that you intend to play for. Okay, so let's say whoever, Johnny Johnson, goes over to play in France for a year. He comes back. He wants to go to UNLV. He's got to go to UNLV for a full school year, and then after 1 year of attendance, then the following year he can start playing. Which, like you said, no, it's totally about getting those experiences and not trying to get kids to put off certain life experiences and whatnot. So yeah, I think it's definitely important to kind of throw that in there that we don't have guys that are coming over and playing the year after they play pro in Europe or whatever. But that was something that got pushed a couple of years ago, and I think it was justified. And I don't have a problem with it. I think it's fair the way it's set up. But yeah, like you were saying, no, I think it's important to not just have a rule that kind of reflects one avenue of opportunity and experience, especially when that's not even related to education. Whereas you got somebody that's continuing their education that wants to play, they should also be able to continue to participate, right?
Yeah, and I also think it's a big thing for JC kids. Like, you think about guys, I off the top of my head, I can think about like a Ryan Doyle, who I believe played at JC for a couple years. I think if he had played one extra game for a year in JC, I think he would not have been able to play this year at Nationals for ASU. He wouldn't have been able to do it because he would have had his 5 years of eligibility already ran up. And if he decided to take a master's degree that takes more than 1 or 2 years, he couldn't do it either. He couldn't represent a school that he attends full time, pours money into, pours time into, pours work into, and that I think is unfair for future students who are going to be playing 4 or 5 years in the NCRHA as undergrads, and then or coming from JCs. I believe there was a guy who was on, I think it was Stobart and Helbig, who are on Lindenwood and Umsel, respectively, who went to St. Charles beforehand. Like, we have to think about those players.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, you're absolutely right. And I think beyond that, it's important to kind of touch on another aspect of why this is important. And beyond just individual experiences and individual players and their experiences with the league, let's talk about the effect that passing this or not passing this could have on getting more teams in the league or keeping teams in the league that might already be in the league. So, for example, Andrew Harris, he was at Tennessee doing his undergrad, and now he is over at DePaul, right?
DePaul.
Yeah.
Yep, DePaul.
And so, but when we're talking about guys like you and guys like Andrew Harris and other people that might, might be instrumental in getting a program off the ground at a school they might be going to if they're going to a new school. Or maybe they're the guy that runs the program after somebody else leaves because they're still there, which is, I know, something that happened at U of A after you left. So U of A, Arizona, they're a school that had a grad student running the team. And then when that grad student graduated, which was you, when you graduated, then a PhD student ended up taking over. And if they hadn't had...
The MD student ended up taking over. That's
yeah,
who's pursuing 2 separate doctorates at the same time. And that's what's important is people who are going to be pursuing graduate degrees and playing in the NCRHA aren't people who are just trying to really just extend their time there. They're people who, like, because if you're a master's degree student or you're a doctoral degree student, especially a doctoral degree student, you don't got time to do anything, and you are literally making room to be a part of the NCRHA, and those people are integral to making teams continue.
Yeah. Oh, especially in like you said, years of transition, where I think that something like this is the difference between, a program staying in the league or not at some point. I'm not saying it's going to be multiple programs every year, but I think that there are multiple programs affected by this rule, and probably a program a year. I would say one program a year that may or may not have a team, depending on whether this this rule ends up getting passed.
Or maybe the grad student is a goalie, and they don't have a goalie.
Yeah.
And the guy's already burned out 5 years.
Oh,
or
100%.
I think about University of Texas. I have a good buddy, Brian Brown, who goes there, who was pursuing a postgraduate degree in architecture. So first off, he's busy as hell. He just got engaged, all this other kind of stuff. He's about 26 years old at this point. And I was talking to him. I was like, dude, why don't you have 2 classes under your belt. Why don't you just start a team at UT Austin? And he goes, well, I already played all those years at Northeastern. If I'm not going to be able to play for my full time here, why am I going to start a team?
Right, and that's the other thing too is incentivizing guys to go out and start a team and not having them feel like they're only going to be able to play a season or someone that's already burned their eligibility that might be pursuing a graduate degree and they don't even think about it because they can't play. So yeah, I mean, if this gets passed, I think you see 1 or 2 new teams next season that otherwise wouldn't be in the league. I really do. I think, like you said, I mean, you got a buddy at Texas, You can go down the row. I mean, I think every single person listening to this can think of somebody that they know that either played club ice hockey or played, ACHA, or they played NCRHA, and they're working on their masters and they're not playing and they'd like to, whether it's at their school or at another school. And so I think this is really important, and that's why we're stressing this. Um, Make sure you take the Twitter poll. Be fair about it. Be objective. We don't want you to, if you don't feel like this is something that should get passed, vote that way. But let us know why. Give us your opinion as to why this shouldn't happen. And we're gonna end up taking those results to the league when we submit our rule proposal. That's something that we did in the past with the overtime rule. And that was one way that we showed the league that there was a lot of support behind the overtime proposal. And I hope that you guys back this. Because I think it really is important for the league, and I think it'll help the league grow. And beyond that, it's going to provide a lot of good opportunities for people that really, like you said, they want to be involved in the league. And what more can you ask for than guys that want to be here? They want to be a part of this. We should do everything we can to give opportunities to people that want to be a part of this so that they can be a part of it. And, hopefully in the process, we get some more teams and we keep some teams alive that might not otherwise stay in the league.
I want to add one last thing to it as well. So the big emphasis on it, because the league might not want to pass it because they'll say we'll just get an influx of people who are trying to live the dream, right? The idea would be you would submit a graduate appeal or graduate play application essentially. And what it would have on that is what classes are you taking, like the normal one has. What is your major? Are your classes on campus or online? Are you on a satellite campus or on the main campus? Are you in search of a certificate, MA, MS, JD, MD, PhD, EdD? Additionally, are you a part of the executive board for your club or not? And then a written reason as to why you would want to continue, which would then be read by either your BOD or your DLO for your region.
They're going to see the paperwork and they know you and they know the people that are associated with your team. And I think that's important. The key is to make it a deterrent from, whoever, some kid coming in, signing up for a couple of classes. They're not really actually trying to get a degree anymore. They're just, like you said, trying to live the dream a little bit longer.
And so what that would basically do is it would give the league an opportunity to determine whether or not you are reasonably qualified to continue to play in the league. And essentially, it would also weed out people who are just trying to live the dream.
People that are trying to get their degrees or trying to get an additional degree, that's what this is for. That's what this rule, it's for those people. And so
I just want to emphasize, if you have a league rule change that you are considering, and you don't know how to do it, or you would like somebody to submit it on your behalf, please send it in to me or Kevin, hopefully at some point today or early Friday, so we can see if we can make something happen for you.